This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What's up, y'all? This is One Royal Way here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield, Jordan Foote, and Josh Guys are joining me as always. Gentlemen, did you guys have a good long 3-day weekend?
I had a great one. We took the kids on the Amtrak to Warrensburg, where your boy cut his teeth in college. Did some sightseeing for a couple hours, then brought it back. So it was a really cool trip back to the Berg. Is pumped. They love the train.
That's dope, man. I played some shitty golf on Monday and did some yard work on Sunday morning and hung out with my grandma for a little bit, visited her, because that's always something you should do as a grandson. So had some fun, had some good times, and that was, a pretty low-key weekend, but it was a good time.
I spent about 18-ish hours in the car combined over the weekend. Drove up Friday afternoon starting about 4:15 p.m. and drove to Duluth, Minnesota, which is about 2 hours north of Minneapolis. So it was about 9-ish hours in the car. Yeah. And I drove the whole thing. So I was hopped up on about, enough caffeine to kill a small elephant to get there. Spent the day in Minnesota with my grandparents. It was the first time they've gotten to meet my son. So that was really cool. Then drove back, split it up halfway. We stopped in a good old Ames, Iowa on Sunday. I found a sports bar. I was like, I gotta get a beer and some football in at some point, just like by myself, and finish the rest of the drive. And I took about a 4-hour nap on Monday.
So that's what I thought you were going to say 18 hours in front of a TV watching college football.
I wish, dude. I'm doing that this Saturday. Though. I already have that reserved. Like, that is happening. It was a lot of time in the car, but well worth it. Got to see some family I haven't seen in quite a while. So super cool.
I've heard that drive is nice, though.
Well, it would have been nice on the way there if it wasn't already 10 p.m. by the time I got into Minnesota.
Yeah, that's tough.
Tough scene.
That is tough.
We hope you guys had a great and safe Labor Day weekend as well. We're in the home stretch of the baseball season. We got about a month left of this show for this season. Maybe a smattering of some off-season episodes. But really, this is the dog days for us in the last stretch. So we appreciate you guys being with us. We can't thank Kansas City Strength and Conditioning enough for sponsoring this show day one here at KCSN. Be sure to check them out if you have a baseball or softball player in the area that needs a place to train. One of my favorite things from this week, and we talked about it a little bit on the mailbag episode a couple weeks ago, the last episode I was on, about where does Nick Loftin fit into the future of the team. I kind of laid out a little bit of concern that we hadn't heard anything about him possibly getting called up. We really didn't know. And then lo and behold, on September 1st, when rosters expanded to 28, Royals selected Nick Loftin from Omaha, bring him up. And in his first big league game, goes 2 for 3 with a double and a walk, a couple RBIs in that big win on Friday night, putting up 12 or 13 runs on the Red Sox. Really awesome to see him be a part of the lineup. He's played 4 different positions, including DH. He's been second. I believe he's been at third or left field. No, second left field, DH, and then first base tonight, which why the hell not at this point? I'm sure he's athletic enough to be able to handle the position. I don't know how much he played of it in Omaha, if at all, but we got to find at bats at first base at this point, besides Matt Beatty and Matt Duffy at this point. So I'm cool with Loftin playing there. It's been really impressive to see him just handle the zone. I think that it is a very mature approach for a team that needs guys like that. Because there are a lot of swing happy dudes in the lineup, and that's fine. Like, it's not like it's not necessarily an indictment on those guys, but just to have a few other guys along with like a Michael Garcia that can work a count, working at bat, and is willing to take first base without taking the bat off their shoulder. For a guy to come up in his first big league plate appearance, I almost think it's more impressive to see them take a walk than to hit a home run or anything like that. Like, we know that the guys can go bridge, but to kind of calm the butterflies, calm the jitters, first game in a big league stadium, to take a walk, I think says a lot about the mental fortitude and the knowledge of the zone right away to not get too swing happy. He's elevated a couple balls, hit some balls hard. Kauffman Stadium is a bitch, and he hit a couple off the top of the wall. So no home runs yet. I think one of those on Sunday, would have been a home run in a couple big league parks if they move the damn fences in at the K. But you know what? I've liked what I've seen so far. It's a very small sample, obviously, but I think there's a lot to like, and maybe we are seeing that he has a future with this team. Maybe it's just a super utility guy that can play third, short, second, first, couple outfield spots, be the kind of the Whit Merrifield type that this team had for so long when Whit Merrifield was here. And that was kind of the comp that Alex Duvall and I had when the Royals drafted him, of like, that might be what he is. Not a guy that's going to go out and smash you a ton of home runs, but 12 to 15 homers on a good year, a lot of contact, not a ton of strikeouts, can play any position and play any of them effectively. It feels like that might be the role. And maybe he slots in somewhere like at full-time second base or full-time left field if there's some moves that happen this offseason to where he can be a starting guy. And I think if he's hitting 6 or 7 in your lineup, you can pencil him into any position any day, and I think you feel pretty good about it.
It seemed like every time they talked about Nick Loftin this weekend, Whit Merrifield was mentioned in the same sentence. So the broadcasting booth is definitely on that comp as well. But the other thing I noticed about Nick Loftin this weekend was the sound the ball made off the bat
crushed a couple.
It was substantial. Like, it was like I usually have it on in the background, and very rarely do I am able to have sound on at the same time. But it just seemed like the ball was exploding off of his bat. Every time he hit it, I had to look up and be like, whoa, where's that going? So I don't want to be that guy who says, like, well, it sounds differently coming off the bat. But it legitimately made some loud pops this weekend, so that's fun to see.
Yeah, he like, it can be a hybrid between the play style of a Nicky Lopez and a Whit Merrifield. Nicky Lopez, and that this guy's going to bring a somewhat mature approach. He's going to walk a little bit more than a Whit Merrifield did, but also keep the strikeout rate somewhat low. He's going to have more of the power potential closer to a Merrifield. And like Whit, he had like a 15 home run season. He hit like roughly 15 to 20 for a few years. Then he kind of leveled out to about 10. And Loftin probably gives you 15 home run power, like a Michael Massey type power profile. And I think
that's a good power.
Kind of like that. And that you don't know when it's going to average out, but eventually he is capable of hitting the shit out of the ball. And he has shown that it's that type of profile. And when you add in the positional versatility on defense, that's a valuable player. And he can be, the Royals don't need Nick Loftin to be the best super utility guy in baseball. But if they have a Samad Taylor that has been on the team, they had a Nicky Lopez, they had a Whit Merrifield they got rid of, they've been looking for, and Nate Eaton was kind of not thrust as that guy by us, but some people were like, okay, Nate Eaton can be that super utility, good enough bat to stick. Didn't happen. Like, they still have an opening for a player like that, and he's still young enough. The prospect profile is still intact. It's not like he's been at the big leagues forever and you're just done with him. He's just now getting started on a bad team. So it's worth, again, an extended look. And we've probably said that a billion times over the past couple of weeks, but we're at the point in the season where no one is set in what they should be doing long-term besides shortstop, third base, maybe one outfield spot.
There's
and then a combination of catcher
and
pitcher. That's it. You're like, this guy, you can't rule too many people out. And Nick Loftin has done the opposite of that so far. And it's the best start you could ask for. And that's always better than the alternative, I think.
We're recording in progress of the game that's happening on Tuesday. And right now, Nick Loftin came up and hit another ball 100 miles an hour for a single. Like, he's just hitting the ball hard, finding the barrel. It's not always going to be elevated. Like this one, the launch angle was -1, so he hit it on the ground. But again, you hit the ball hard enough, like we've talked about with some of these other guys, that the profile, the batted ball profile evens out. So I think
we're mispronouncing his name. Can you guys tell me what his name is?
It's Nick Loftin. Sorry about
Nick
that.
Loftin. That's Loftin. Thank you. I'm just needing that to catch on because we're gonna sell T-shirts and stuff probably, and I just need it to catch on. So yep,
a guy who deserves all the respect in the world put on his name. Cole Ragans, the American League Pitcher of the Month for August, 3-1 in 36 2/3 innings, a 1.72 ERA with 53 strikeouts. Here are the ranks among all starting pitchers since the beginning of August. Not American League Central, not Kansas City based, not American League, just all MLB pitchers. Cole Ragans is first in wins above replacement, first in ERA, first in FIP, first in expected FIP, second in strikeouts per 9, third in innings pitched, and his average fastball velocity is 6th. He is absolutely dominant. And there was the Eno Saris article on The Athletic where he went to not quite KCSC, but the next best thing in Shred Athletics, apparently.
Athletics. Shout out Shred Athletics.
Yeah, and really worked with all his movement, got that going, has a program that works now. And then Esteban Rivera on Fangraphs kind of detailed his pitch usage. The four-seamer not getting thrown nearly as much, like a 12% decrease. The slider now went from nothing because it wasn't existing to 14.6%. That has been the difference with allowing his other pitches to look better. Even the cutter that still isn't perfect, but is playing better. So this is no longer and listen, I'm not saying Cole Ragans is an ace for every MLB team long term. I'm not even convinced he's the Kansas City Royals ace the next time they make the playoffs. I'm not saying they need to trade him, any of that. At the worst, they got a formidable big league, probably pure rotation arm for a rental of Aroldis Chapman. And that is excellent GMing. And Josh, you can both add what you want. Perfect segue into the Royals had a damn good trade deadline, even if all they would have got was Cole Ragans.
They won it, dude. They won the trade deadline unequivocally. Where I'm here to say I went and looked at all of the trades that were done around the middle of the trade deadline to kind of see exactly where the Royals hauls came through. Cole Ragans has the highest F4 of every player traded at 2.2. That's a starting pitcher with like 8 starts, and it's a 2.2 F4. That is higher than Verlander. That is higher than Scherzer. That is higher than Montgomery. That's higher than Lorenzen. It's all better than all these guys, and he is not a rental. He is a 6-year control player for 3 years of league minimum. 3 league minimum, and he's going to be a Royal for at least 6 more years. Like Jordan said, I don't know what he is long term. He could be the ace we've been looking for. He could just be a serviceable MLB starting pitcher, and that's totally fine. But I went back and I looked at, so the 2.2 F4 through 8 starts is about an 8.3 F4 pace.
That's
if he goes 30 starts in a season. Since 2000, there are 7 pitchers that have turned in a season of that or better. And of those 7, only one of those was less than 32 starts. So he is on an outrageous, unsustainable, probably pace, but there's plenty of reason to believe that there is actual realness to it. The other part about that is Nelson Velasquez looks like an absolute dude. We'll talk to you about him a little bit more later, but he's got the 14th highest F4 in that group that was traded, at the trade deadline. And the Royals netted overall the second most F4. As a team that was selling, they added the second most F4 of any other team in the major leagues, buyers, sellers, whoever. They netted 2.3 F4 of major league talent as sellers. That is huge, huge. So the fact that they were able to do that without picking up a huge amount of payroll, like we can come back and look at like the Texas Rangers. If there's like a world pennant, we can come back and be like, well, the Scherzer, Montgomery, the Aroldis deals, that's why they won the trade then. Okay, that's fine. They spent a ton of money to get that ring. And that's fine too. Maybe down the road we see the Verlander deal to the Mets where they got Gilbert and Clifford. Maybe they're overall better prospects, but we're still talking about Cole Ragans, Nelly Velasquez are here doing it right now, and those guys might do what they're currently doing. So that's another thing. They didn't pick up a ton of money like the Mets did either. I mean, they picked up like $68 million in money that's just gone for the next 2 seasons. They didn't do that either. They didn't have to buy their prospects. They got the guys that are ready now, and they got huge return for it. They won.
And it makes you wonder if the Nicky Lopez trade didn't happen, like let's just call a spade a spade. It's not like Lopez has done anything good, but like that trade sucked. Objectively, hasn't shown anything yet that it's been worth it. If that didn't happen, though, everything else has been pretty good. You're like, the Royals have done just fine at the trade deadline. And like, listen, I'm not a j.j.picollo apologist. I don't think he's a top whatever GM in baseball, any of that stuff. But the crowd that at the beginning of the year, at the trade deadline, when the team was sucking, all that stuff, he's just a clone of Dayton Moore. He's not a clone of Dayton Moore. He's his own guy. And he deserves his flowers for what he did, despite all the shortcomings of the team thus far in 1 year. Again, if it's still this bad at this point next year, then you have to have those honest conversations. Like, is this the group of people for the job? Is everything the right, spot? He did good work at the trade deadline that deserves to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cole Ragans might be like what Cole Ragans has done, I think is my favorite story of the season so far, because it was completely out of left field, to mix metaphors here. Like, we knew at least there was a pretty good chance. Like, my three favorite stories, at least so far, have been Maikel Garcia turning into an everyday big leaguer. Like, we all knew that was a possibility. We didn't know to what degree, but we knew that was at least a possibility. We knew Bobby Witt Jr., it was going to turn on for him somehow, and he's turned into a top 10 player in the sport. We all knew that was at least in the realm of possibility. And it's, happened even beyond our own expectations. But Cole Ragans becoming what seems to be a legitimate top of the rotation arm for the Royals for the next however many years, did not see that coming at all. We came on this podcast after the Aroldis deal, and we're like, okay, seems like a very Royals move, like get a quad A type guy that is major league ready, can fill you a need right now. Maybe he's a little better in the future, but is he a starter? Is he a reliever? We didn't know. We were like, okay, like I think this might work. And he's come on and turned into the second coming of Sandy Koufax or something. Like, it's been incredible to see, truly. Like, what he has accomplished this month on a team that went, 9-19 or 10-20 or 10-19 in the month of August. Like, for him to win, they won 4 of those 5 starts. Like, it says a lot about having a guy like that. We talked about having Brady Singer kind of as a win-day guy. Like, the Royals, at least we thought coming into the year, they at least had something. He regressed significantly. It feels like the Royals have a win-day guy in Cole Ragans, and even on a bad team, that is incredibly valuable to have. And hopefully he can, stay healthy this offseason, come into next year. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the opening day starter in 2024. And a guy that every 5th day, even on a team that may not win a ton, you feel comfortable that the Royals at least are going to have a pretty decent shot to win.
And I think I agree that it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite part, because it's like a huge sign of progression. They went out, identified a guy that they thought that they could do something with, and then they did it with that guy, and then he turned into a dude. I mean, that is an all-around, all-encompassing, front-to-back, front office organizational win. That's an organization, that's a front office, that's a coaching win all around. So that's one of the more encouraging things, and that's absolutely what you want to see from a team that is down on the dumps like the Royals have been this year. So more of that, please.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about one of these other trade wins for the front office here coming up right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all you guys tuning in to this, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We're going to go into our hitter and pitcher spotlights of the week, and our hitter is one of these other guys that the Royals got in a trade back at the beginning of August in Nelson Velasquez. Nelly Nukes hit another home run tonight. That means that he has, in 107 big league plate appearances this year, he has 25 hits, and 11 of them are home runs.
It's ridiculous.
He has home runs in 3 of his last 4 games. He is the right-handed power bat that the Royals were trying to get at the deadline. Like, it was everything that JJ talked about. He has come in and he has been that. And now the overall numbers do not look that pretty. At least the average in OBP, but he's slugging .604.
That's sustainable, right? That's real life.
Incredibly sustainable. With his 2 hits so far on the night as we're recording, he's got the weighted runs created plus on the season up to 147. Again, it's a fairly small sample in 107 plate appearances, but he spent the majority of this year in AAA. I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but to kind of, again, call back to the podcast where we did the mailbag, and people were asking about, what does the outfield look like in 2024? I penciled him into right field, and I think he's continued to prove that. It's legitimate right-handed power. He can handle right field, and it's not like it is a hope and pray every time the ball is hit to him that he makes a play. He's not going to play it at an elite level, but he certainly can hold his own, and that's all you're asking for with a guy that has this type of power. Like, he doesn't need the defense to, to really be there because he can't hit. Like, he certainly can hit. I think the most impressive thing for him is he is not selling out for power at all. Like, with his swing, it's just smooth, barrel stays in the zone for a long time, power to all fields. The pull side power is ridiculous, but he's hit a couple out to right center and right field where it's like, damn, like the ball, like it is easy power the other way. If he can walk a little bit more, he's striking out 26% of the time. That's fine. I think that's perfectly sustainable. If he can walk up about 9 to 10%, you're looking at a guy that hits you 240 with about 25. I think there's legit 25 to 30 home run power there over the course of a full season. It's great process by the Royals. You traded a reliever that you really, in Jose Cuas, it was like a perfect trade your reliever situation. You get a guy that has still 4 years of control left after this, and looks like you found some right-handed power in this lineup besides Bobby Witt Jr. going forward.
So I had some data that I found before we started, and I have more thoughts after my initial point, but I feel like Josh is going to have some of them too. But diving into his splits this year, against lefties, hitting 167 with an 88 weighted runs created plus. Against righties, 283 with a 163 WRC plus. At home this year, 308 average, 193 WRC plus. On the road, hitting 097 with a WRC plus of 2. He hit a home run at home on Tuesday night against the right-handed pitcher, no less, that continues to add to this finding that I had earlier. The flip side of that, though, his career split pretty even, lefty versus righty. Like, there's not a huge platoon difference there. Home versus away, though, the WRC plus 119 versus 85. Now, he played 75 games in 22 with the Cubs. Like, it's not a big sample quite yet. It's not like he can't play on the road or anything. I just found it an interesting tidbit that people would like. And then it just so happened that he helped on Tuesday night by confirming what he's already been doing this year. But Josh, I'll let you get the real analysis done, and then maybe I'll swoop back in.
I mean, that was pretty damn real to me.
That was Big J. I'm just saying.
Big J stuff. I was looking at the reverse splits too. I did kind of come back to last year. It was kind of reverse, like how you would think it was. He was better against lefties than he was righties, and the same for the minors. So I don't know if that reverse split is a thing, but the home and away is very interesting. Maybe he doesn't like planes or something. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but there's something to look at there. The thing that I kind of came back to and kind of noticed was he significantly increased his ability to hit fastballs between last year and this year. In 22, he had a 32% whiff rate on fastballs. That's a lot. That's a very high number. Per StatCast, there's a -4 run value against four-seamers, -3 versus sinkers, and then a positive 5 against cutters, which makes sense. I mean, the right-handed pitcher's cutter is going to cut towards the sweet spot of the bat, which I'm sure is probably what he was able to do there. This year, it's a 20.6% whiff rate against fastballs, a 5 run value against four-seamers, a 6 versus a sinker, and a -1 against a cutter. So somehow he is better at hitting fastballs as a Royal. I thought once you put the Royals uniform, you just stopped hitting fastballs altogether. So that has changed, and that is significantly, and I think that is kind of a sign towards, this could be sustainable a little bit, at least to a certain extent. But also his play discipline and his swing decisions since coming to the Royals has been very, a lot better than it was. He's making more contact and barreling more balls. He's swinging more, but he's chasing less than when he was with the Cubs. He does more fly balls and line drives than he does ground balls since he came over. So it just seems like an all-around better approach to what he was doing in a Cubs uniform, which is basically what he was doing. He was either he's basically just hitting crap out of the ball when he made contact. So it was basically the same thing. But yeah, it does seem like the approach and the plate decisions and the swing decisions, better contact, is all kind of what we've seen from him since joining the Royals in a very small sample size. So I'm with you, Joel. I'm ready to kind of pencil him into the right field conversation next year, which brings me to my question about it. You got to plant your flag on one of these guys, one of them, okay? Based off what you know right now.
I knew it was coming. Go for it.
Vasquez, Edward Olivares, or MJ Melendez? You got 3 of them to choose from, and I think that's a very real decision that's going to have to be made. So what do you got?
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think MJ's in left field in 24.
I do too. I almost tend to agree with Joel on that exclusively. Like, I think you're really choosing between. Is it Nick Prado factored into that? Like, everybody who can't fit in left field or center field.
What are you doing?
Plus Olivares, plus Waters, exactly. Like,
I mean, you got Isbell, you got Waters, you got Nelly, you got MJ, you got Tyler Gentry is going to be in the mix. You now have Nick Loftin, so you have 6 to 7 guys that could legitimately play your corner outfielders, but also aren't necessarily taking the bull by the horns by it. So
I think you're
or Dyrone Blanco. I think you got to carry him as a 5th.
So,
Joel, go ahead.
So my left field or my outfield, at least at present, for next year, MJ in left, Drew Waters in center, Velasquez in right with Isbell, and let Gentry and Blanco battle it out for that 5th spot.
I think it goes Melendez for me, Waters number 2, then a gap of like players they should want to see get continued reps in any outfield spot. Then like Velasquez, Isbell, like a Loftin, a Gentry. One of those guys is in tier 2. Then you have a drop off, and it's like Olivares. I guess Blanco could have been in that 2nd tier potentially, even with his age, just because he's done good work since he's been up. And I think really for me, you hit on Velasquez. Like the barrel rate since he came over is first among all qualified Royals. He's hitting the shit out of the ball. The expected slugging is up there. The barrel rate's up there. The hard hit rate's up there. The expected whatever the hell you want to look at in terms of making contact on the ball and hitting it hard is up there. Now he still struggles at whiff rate, walk rate, strikeout rate, stuff like that, but it's improved over what it's been. The thing with him, I just think that the Royals need to see more, and I think I need to see more until I buy in. The good thing with him, though, is he has a trump card that Edward Olivares had, is also better defensively. While still not good, don't get me wrong, but he's not a complete train wreck defensively. He's young. He has that new car smell almost to him and has gotten off to a pretty decent start. So he has taken Edward Olivares' spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he was non-tendered or flipped in the winter, something like that. Nelson Velasquez is a possible platoon / give him every day in right field and see what he does / depth option / he holds off this guy longer. He's going to have to start 2024 well, don't get me wrong, and that's the same for a lot of guys, but he has earned, barring a absolutely terrible rest of September, and even then probably, he deserves a shot. And again, that is more than you can say for some guys.
2 guys I kind of thought that he might turn into if they kind of keep him as is, are Teoscar Hernandez and Hunter Renfroe. I feel like both of those guys have similar profiles to what Nelly Velasquez is right now, and they could potentially unlock more of that, make him a better defender, make him walk a little bit more, and then who knows what he could be at that point. So it's a good shot that they could take out. He's 24 years old. He has 2 MLB or 2 more options that they could throw him back down Omaha. If he's not figuring it out, there's time to figure it out. So if those guys are like the realistic comp, the 80th percentile, outcome, and with the upside of better, then this is a W, especially for Kwas. Who do you guys guess Jose Kwas's ERA as a Cub?
3.2.
Jordan?
He's probably confirmed my prayers. I bet it's astronomical.
It's 0.64 ERA.
Okay, never mind. So I was wrong. He's done the opposite of...
Hold on. His xFIP.
Yes, that's where it is. A billion.
Like probably 6.5 or something.
5.59.
Yeah. That's
14 innings.
Always my thing with him. I'm like, he can't keep getting away with this. And like, technically he is, but still, he cannot keep getting away with this unless he's just an all-time statistical outlier, which maybe he is, but does not
still this bullpen. We would be scratching our heads and pulling our hair out just as much, if not more, than we already are. I mean, we talked about the log jam in outfield. I mean, I'd rather talk about potential upside and productivity in the outfield than more questions without answers than Jose Kwas in the bullpen. So it's a win.
Here's what I found.
Okay.
Quickly. Thanks, Siri.
Say Siri.
So we're going to talk about our pitcher spotlight now, and it is not near as rosy and optimistic, but we're going to talk about Alec Marsh. So here's the season-long numbers. 6.23 ERA, 52 innings pitched. He started 8 games. He's been the bulk guy in a few starts, or a few games, so 12 games overall. The upside, 60 strikeouts in those 52 innings. Not bad. But 29 walks, 8 hit by pitch, and 15 home runs given up. So he's either striking dudes out or he's getting absolutely lit the hell up. And for a guy that spins his fastball as well as he does, like, it is one of the most, it's very like kind of Jackson Kowar in that way. Now, Kowar doesn't spin it the same way. What it's like, Brandon Maurer. It's that same type of thing where it's like, for a fastball that's that good metrically, it shouldn't be getting hit that hard. And I know he's done some tweaking. He's added a sinker. He's, started tweaking with the slider. So maybe some of these changes help him long-term, and the short-term is just kind of ugly as he's working through some of these changes. I think, just to sum up my point very quickly here, because I know we got to hit a break, I think you just throw him in the bullpen, let the fastball eat, let him make some of these changes in short spurts. I think the walks and the home runs, you can't start him every single day. Now, if you want to make him an opener or a bulk guy every once in a while, sure. Like, I think that's fine, but I think a clearly defined role in the bullpen is probably best for his long-term prospects as a big leaguer.
Alec Marsh continues to confuse. That seems to be the overarching theme with him.
That was the thing last year, too.
Bingo. Yep. He will always get hit really hard, but he'd also have like 7 or 8 Ks through 5. And so you think that there's like something there, and there is. I mean, like Joel said, he's in the 90th percentile in fastball spin. That's not nothing. He's at 31 or 30.1% whiff rate, which is a 78th percentile according to Savant. He has a 318 BABIP. So that's kind of gubbed out. He's given up so many home runs. And I think the biggest issue that I've seen, as the Royals have been literally throwing everything at the wall to see if they can figure out a role for him. I mean, bulk guy, opener, reliever, starter. I mean, it's all been there. The big problem is control. His best start was there. What was it?
It was the
7-15 against the Rays. Yeah, 6 innings pitched, 6 base runners, 2 earned over an 11 Ks versus a start like on Saturday against Red Sox where he went 2 2/3, 9 runners, 6 earned, and 1 K. Specifically, it was his control. He had no feel seemingly for his fastball or his changeup that day, and it showed. He was missing so many targets. The Red Sox were just sitting there waiting for him to throw something over the middle because he had to. When you're doing that, you cannot be productive in a major league rotation or a bullpen at that point. So I don't know. It's obviously salvageable. The spin on there is fine. His stuff plus models are all pretty solid. He's just missing his locations, and that's huge. That's absolutely huge. You can't have the traffic on the bases like he has, and still be a productive pitcher in the major league. So if he can get it under control, maybe go see Tread, add a little ticks to that velo, and see what they could do with that spin and make it an absolute weapon. But as far as like a starter or reliever, he has a 5.27 xFIP as a starter and a 5.23 xFIP as a reliever. So I don't know what I mean, that kind of goes with the bulk situation too, but he just hasn't been effective either way at this point. So we got to make some tweaks.
He gives me Jonathan Heasley vibes, and it's a different arsenal. His fastball plays a billion times more than Heasley's ever did or probably ever will. But in terms of like, gives up a ton of home runs, like dances with trouble all the time, gets shelled, and then looks dominant for a little bit, and you think he's just a gamer that can get by. Like, Alec Marsh has a better arsenal than John Heasley had. I think he can be a bulldog type pitcher like Jonathan Heasley was supposed to be. And this isn't me saying Jonathan Heasley's career is over. I'm not like writing an obituary for him. Just the comp.
Writing that obituary for 2 years, dude, and you know
it. Since the beginning of this year, and back in February, I was like, nope. But maybe that'll be me in February for Alec Marsh. But anyway, he's been a little bit better as a reliever, but like Josh said, like you look at the ERA difference is over 4, but then you look at the expected stuff. You're like, okay, well, this is a little bit of statistical noise. Again, it's 35 innings as a starter, 16 as a reliever. He deserves to continue working through it because when he's on, he can be a absolutely dominant, just shutdown pitcher. I think you harness that in the bullpen, though. Like, I truly believe long-term, he can't start anymore. He has to be given a bullpen role, whether it's long relief, whether you get a couple more ticks on that velo and then you make him one of the 3 back-end guys, perhaps. I don't know exactly what the plan should be for him, but the arsenal, the expected slugging for the changeup, the fastball, like, it's a lot better than what he's actually been giving up. So like Josh said, the numbers will come down at some point, but even then, because he dances with trouble, because he gives up so many home runs, I still don't know what to think about him. So I'm TBD on him big time, leaning that I have 1 foot out, but I don't know what I would bet on him. And speaking of betting, Joel's going to talk about that.
Gentlemen, can you believe we've had 7 months without an NFL game? Crazy, right?
No,
Good thing about the NFL is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. This week, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. DraftKings is hooking up everyone with game day greatness. All customers can take advantage of 2 offers every single game day this September. Check the app to see what you get. Download now and use code KCSN to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code KCSN. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
Man, stroking that like a Nelson Velasquez home run.
Oh, we're not done, buddy. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. We got a few more. We will be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and download the DraftKings app. Use code KCSN, $200. Get $200 free for a $5 bet. Gentlemen, let's do some minor league report. We got a full one this week, actually. Yeah. Not just a couple of guys, because we actually have time at the end of this episode. We'll start in AAA and work our way down. Josh, we'll start with you. What do you got for what we've seen in Omaha?
We got Nick Prado who's back and rehabbing on his assignment. That's one of the things that we as a show that kind of pays attention to the Major League, but primarily really, really need to see Nick Prado up in the Major Leagues as soon as possible. He's so far in his rehab assignment is 4 for 18, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 home runs, and 7 RBIs. Nick Prado is back to doing Nick Prado things at Omaha. So I'm out of breath. I was dancing all the time, so I really need to get back in shape. But yeah, Nick Prado's back on the rehab game and doing what he's usually doing.
I've got Devin Mann. He was brought over in the Ryan Yarbrough trade. He has played entering Tuesday a nice, tidy 24 games as a member of the Royals organization. I split it down the middle. The first 12 games, he hit .263 with a .308 on base percentage. His OPS was .564. WRC plus was 51. Since then, he was also striking out 33% of the time during that stretch with only 2 extra base hits. Just was not working well for him. The last 12 games, he's only hitting .200, but his OBP is .385. And the slugging percentage is .525 with a .126 WRC plus. He's walking 21% of the time during that span. Strikeout rate's down 4%, 7 extra base hits. The BABIP is .227 in that stretch. So you're like, okay, he's due for some positive regression, and that's even with the positive progression he has made over the last 12 games. So Devin Mann came over. We were like, okay, maybe he can do something. Started off pretty poorly. You're like, okay, maybe he can't. Now kind of popping up I'm a little bit back on the radar.
Hit another dinger tonight.
Did he? Really?
Yep.
Me and my agenda, man, and my stats, they're helping me out. Usually they absolutely crap on anything I find, but today it's been good.
So I don't know. Honestly, I don't have anything on Omaha. The only thing I found is that they are in last place in the International League West. Now, thankfully, they do not have the worst record in the International League. I believe that goes to Syracuse and Charlotte. So, not last. Cool.
We did it.
Yeah, moving on to Double-A Northwest Arkansas. I just want to say how much I love Javier Vaz. I love watching this dude play. He's hitting .333 since moving up to Double-A on August 8th. 2 home runs in that span, which he's not necessarily known for his power. So, but when he gets into it, like you can tell, like it's very
pure, smooth.
Yeah, like it kind of like he has a really nice feel for the barrel. That when he connects, it does fly. Like there's a ton of bat speed there, and he's still walking more than he's striking out. He's playing, solid defensively from everything we've heard. I think there is a world where he is going to factor in to the big leagues next year, sometime around July or August. He just finds ways on base. He finds ways to hit. He's, he can steal enough bases where he's, got some potential there. He can play enough positions defensively, second base, he can play some left field. You're like, put him ninth in your order and let him turn the lineup over to the top. I think it's a perfect type guy that the Royals can find a position for. Like, better than what Samad Taylor's probably given you, better than what Nate Eaton's given you in those type of utility, bottom of the lineup roles. I think there's enough hit tool there where I don't think it's fluky. Like, it's not like it's not like it's Nicky Lopez-ish where it's almost exclusively singles and you're relying on a high BABIP to sustain over the course of the season. There's enough juice there to where you can get some extra base hits, hit a bunch of doubles, get on base, and he's not going to strike out a ton either, which this team really needs guys like that aren't going to be heavy high strikeout guys.
Yeah.
I think he finds his way on the big leagues next year. I don't know how, I don't know when, but it just feels like he's going to keep hitting enough.
I've got a guy that I don't really know what he does long term. He's going to be 26 in January. He's Rule 5 eligible, like yada yada, all that stuff. Tyler Tolbert, the stolen bases king. He has 48 of them this year. 97 WRC plus. Like, he's been a fine hitter all year. He's ran into some power in the past month. His OPS is up to 810. The 106 WRC plus is fine. He's striking out less. Doesn't draw a ton of walks this year, which is kind of a minor concern, but like, he's not on the prospect list. I don't think he was on Royals Farms top. Did he do a top 50? He must have been pretty.
Yeah, he might have been near the bottom. I don't think.
Yeah.
It was,
so like Tyler Tolbert hasn't been on anyone's radar, and maybe he's a career minor league guy that's just going to steal bases and make a living doing that and have fun. But again, you go through the organizational depth chart of outfielders, and the guy that can play different outfield spots and has the range, has all that stuff, he's another one. And I just don't know. I noticed, I was like, I haven't talked about him all year. I don't think any of us really have. So I wanted to shed some light on him. And he's kind of just doing the same thing. He's been an okay hitter, stealing a shit ton of bases, offering some glove defensively, and just, again, doing his thing.
A guy I would like to see doing his thing very near in the future is Gavin Cross. He was put on the 7-day IL back in August 15th. He hasn't had a game since August 9th or something like that. And I haven't seen any update, any information. The only thing is he was put on the IL with an illness. I mean, that can mean a lot of things, but it's just a very ambiguous thing that you wouldn't think would be a multiple week absence. But it's just kind of weird that there's been no update on Gavin Cross. I'd like to see him back out of the ballpark as soon as possible before Double-A wraps up. So I gotta keep my eyes peeled, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see him at least a little bit here before the season wraps up. I don't know at this point, but we can hope everything's all right. I mean, an illness that lasts this long, you don't know if that's physical or mental. Like, that's kind of worrisome in that regard.
Yeah.
Moving up to High A, There's not a lot. I'm for all the Frank Mazzucato stock that I was stocking up on in April and May, I'm slowly beginning to start to sell off. 6 walks in his previous start. Now he struck out 7. Cool. Yep. He walked 6. He walked 4 or 5 tonight. I think he only struck out 3. Like the strikeout numbers being there is great, but the walk numbers are like 5 alarm concerning at this point.
Yeah.
He has to find a way. He has to find a way to pare down on that next year. I know he's probably going to start the year in high A, but once you get to double A, it is truly sink or swim time for him.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest jump in the minor leagues. And if he is still walking dudes at an alarming clip like he has been this year, I mean, it looks like a whiff on another first-round pick.
Was it Preston Farr that pointed out maybe he's tinkering with his mix a little bit? Like, I don't know if it's true, but if he is.
I think it was, they said he was a slider, which I think is a smart play. If he wants to work on that, I bet they're going to send him to Instructs and let him throw a bunch of innings there.
But still, not too much leeway. Like, at a certain point, you have to produce.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I think Preston showed a video tonight. He's mostly been 90 to 91, popped to 94 tonight. I don't even think it was a strike, but the fact that he popped to 94, I'm like, okay. At least.
Like, he has that in him.
Yes. Which I think he needs to go to the Cole Ragans school of learning how to throw ball hard. And I think there is a certain element of this where I think you can take a Cole Ragans and Frank Mazzucato kind of corollary where guys that didn't throw for a ton of velocity had strikeout stuff, but they walked so many dudes at that lower velocity.
Yeah.
Cole Ragans has almost stopped walking people once he started throwing harder. Like, I wonder if there is that just throw shit hard in the zone and it takes away some of that aiming and trying to nibble and be so fine at 92, 94, that it takes away some of those walk concerns. Yeah. And it makes those off-speed pitches play so much better. Like, Frank Mazzucato gets some ugly swings on his curveball. It's a legit 65, 70 pitch.
Mm-hmm.
If he can start throwing 95, 96, think about how much uglier those swings are going to be on that curveball, right? Like, I think he needs to find a way to gain some velocity this offseason, and I think there is a legitimate example in the organization of finding more velocity leading to more success.
I wonder if he's really working on some things, if he's an Arizona Fall League possibility. I
think it's a little early for the Fall League.
It might be a little too early, yeah.
If he has a decent year next year after Double A, you send him to the Fall League. Okay.
Sure.
Like, I think that's probably the better route, but I think you need to let him sink or swim in Double A before you make that decision.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's okay. I did find a bright spot in High A in Sherwin Newton. Yeah, he's a 23-year-old switch hitter that we got in the 24-year-old at High A. So even more so that he's a little bit older than his competition. But
hey, 24 is not that old.
24
don't hate on 24-years. Don't hate on 24-year-olds. I'm 24. There's nothing wrong with being 24. I'm also not in high A. So.
You're not in Quad Cities at the moment.
I'm not even in rookie ball.
Yeah. Yeah. You're in an independent league, sir. And it's just probably pretty young for the independent league. But he was drafted in the minor league Rule 5 draft in this last offseason. I think it was their only Rule 5 pick in the offseason. But he is a massive dude. 6'3", 209. Absolute unit of a man. And switch hitter, plays shortstop and third base. But in the last 30 days, he's slashing 346, 407, 654 with 5 dingers, 9.9% walk rate, and 28.6% K rate. I don't know what he is long term. Like I said, he's still pretty old compared to the guys he's hitting, taking yard on a regular basis anymore. But it is kind of fun to see he was a guy that I wanted to see more of this year. I thought I had the pop to be able to be somebody. So he needs to continue to take some steps forward, and we could be talking about him a little bit further next year. Maybe he's an Arizona Fall League guy.
You're on mute, bud.
You're on mute, Jordan.
Oh, I was wondering why nobody was reacting to me. I kept talking, and you guys just looked at me like I was crazy. Indeed, I was. I'm just gonna double up on my High A and my Columbia guys. Rookie mistake on my part. Sorry, guys. Shane Panzini made his first start in the high A, 4 innings pitched, 5 hits. He gave up a home run, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Just wanted to bring it up, say he's out there, he's doing his thing. And I just remembered, which is bad on my part, I think I talked about Austin Charles like a month ago, 4 or 5 episodes ago, and kind of said, I don't know. And now I'm, again, kind of crapping on the guy. So apologies to him. He's walking a little bit more since August 1st than he has this season, but he's also striking out more. The power numbers are down. The WRC plus is down. And I think it was when we ranked the prospects or reacted to the pipeline.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not sure if he's, worth that ranking based on potential and projection. He hasn't been bottoming out by any means. It's not like it's time to hit the panic button on him. He's still insanely talented and brimming with potential. But instead of trending up to close out the season, he's kind of been trending down. Just wanted to bring it up. It's not an urgent thing whatsoever.
I wanted to kind of talk about some power hitters. We got Brett Squires and Trevor Werner down there in Columbia that are absolutely hitting the crap out of the ball the last week.
Man.
What do you make of him? Like, I know Werner, I mean, he could be like on a Vinny path. He's a big dude, kind of unheralded coming out, especially after the pick, and you kind of want like, who is that? But I mean, him and Squires both 2 home runs apiece this last week. Squires 10 ribbies. Werner had 6 ribbies. I mean, that's a fun couple guys to inject in that lineup. And if you get some guys on in front of them, I mean, they could go yard at any minute. So I don't know what you make of it, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on.
I'm much higher on Werner. I think my only concern with Squires is that he's been in low A all year at 23, and he's striking out almost 30%.
Mm-hmm.
That is a concern, but the 136 WRC plus there, even at that age, still fine, I think. He was a UDFA guy, so it's not like he was it has come out of nowhere. And he swiped 30 bags, which I didn't know was in his bag at all as a player. So I was like, oh, okay. Now he's still riding a pretty high BABIP. It's 371 compared to his average of 268. But I think you put him in Quad Cities next year, and if he still hits at a power at a decent clip and can still swipe you some bags, keep the weighted runners career plus around 120, we might be talking about a dude that's on the back end of a top 30 list by midseason. I wouldn't be shocked by that. But I think Werner has like legitimate helium potential to be a dude in the system. I truly believe that. My guy, and I've talked about him before, I'm probably going to keep talking about him. He just kind of falls into like a prospect profile that I love, and that's Carson Rockefeller. The dude just hits. Like it's kind of like Tucker Bradley, where it's just like the guy, all he does is hit. And there may not be a super elite carrying tool, but the ability to just put bat on ball is enough for me to go be intrigued. 153 WRC plus without a home run, I think is incredibly impressive. 313 average. Now, again, the BABIP is 424, and a lot of that is purely because there's not a lot of power there. Like, he's having to rely on a little bit of a higher BABIP to sustain, but still has 10 stolen bases, 11 RBIs. He's walking 18% of the time. Now, he's striking out 20%.
Damn good.
But the walk rate at 18%, I'm like, shit, man. Like, if you can find a way, like any sort of power, even if it's like doubles power and can pop you 10 home runs, like kind of Andrew Benintendi-ish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a center fielder for you in 2025 right there. Like, I would not be shocked if he skips and just they send him to high A, and then he's in double A by the end of the year, and we're talking about him like we're talking about Javier Vaz.
Mm-hmm.
Like a guy with like elite contact skills, can steal you some bags, going to play you a great center field. And I think that's where he's different from Vaz, is he plays a premium position, but I think they really hit on a dude. I really think that Carson Rockefeller does factor into the future of this organization here pretty quickly. He could be a fast-moving type guy.
I think that's the perfect game. Yeah, that's a perfect way to sum it up, I think, and kind of put a bow on this whole thing.
Yep, absolutely. Do the Chiefs cover on Thursday?
Covering 5.5 now?
5.5 or 5.
I don't think so. I picked the Lions to win by 4. Or no, by 3.
Oh my.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. I bet the Lions to cover.
What an absolute hater.
I'm telling you, logically, I don't have any reasoning for it. My gut for like the better half of the week before the Chris Jones stuff was finalized, before Kelsey got hurt, I was like, I just have a weird feeling the Lions are going to win. I don't really truly believe it in my head, but my gut's telling me to do it. I'll probably be wrong, but I can't go against my gut because that's just the type of guy I am.
I just picture,
and I'm a hater, by the way.
I picture Patrick Mahomes just like Kelsey gets hurt, Chris Jones out, and it's just the Cam Newton gif where he's just like, all right. Okay. And then
Justin Watson breakout game.
Sky Moore's gonna fuck around and go 8 for 120 and 2 tuds. We're gonna be like, okay, like we're back, we're fine.
Yeah,
having 15 on your sidelines a good feeling because even with all the crap happening beside him, like you're like, okay, it's fine. Like they'll figure it out.
I think they will figure it out. It might be a closer game than we're going to like because it seemed like that's all that happened last year, especially watching quarterback. It was like, oh, yeah, that was a close game again. Oh, yeah, that was way closer than it should have been. That's what I kind of feel like is going to happen in this one. But I don't think they lose on banner night. But
There's no way they lose on banner night. Like,
yeah.
They're not the Rams. They're not going to get shit canned off.
Whoa.
And with that is unwell way this week. I know I'm sorry that it hurt your feelings, but it's just a fact. They did.
Oh my! I'm going to pull this clip if they lose on Thursday.
That's going to do it for One Royal Way. We appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you next week.